or not?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. So present the argument.
There exists an X such that X is a state and such that dying at X or suffering at X and bad at X. It is also that for all Y, omnipotent Y entails that has the power to prevent without Y at X. For all X, state at X implies for all Z not prevents existence Z at X.
Do you think that's what I meant by natural language? Reading out the variables?
Do you...
That's going to be a yes or a no too, by the way.
Do you...
Oh, you have to think about that? We'll just calm down there, Clue. So that was a yes or a no question.
No, I'm just stunned by the question.
Well, I know that you're a little bit stunned right now. Just we'll calm down, Clue. So the question was a yes or a no. So are you going to answer with affirming or not?
No, look, I understood.
Well, hold on. I agree you can say no look, right? But I'm asking you a dichotomous question. I just want a clear dichotomous answer. Are you going to deliver that or not?
No,
Look, you're like stumbling all over yourself right now, Clue. I don't know how you didn't think this far ahead that I was just going to ask you to relay it in like natural language. Wait, hold on. Just take a break. Wait, Clue. Wait, just calm down. So I asked you a yes or a no question. Are you going to answer it in either of those parameters?
I'm not doing this hacking thing
with you. You're like... just calm down, Clue. So are you going to answer the question with a yes or a no?
Pick a premise, bro.
Okay, you're gonna like retreat and flee away. Awesome. So I just want a very clear response. I want it to be very succinct so that everybody here can make clear what you're saying. Is it going to be the case that you're going to represent it in natural language or not?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. Represent it in natural language. I don't know why that was so hard to get out. I don't know why you started like fumbling all over yourself as soon as I asked you to like represent it in natural language. Hopefully we can get through this like faster. Jesus, go ahead, Clue.
I didn't fumble when I started answering the question.
Well, just calm down. Just calm down and answer the question now.
You made this comment about me. Why do you think?
Yeah, I did make the comment. I did make the comment, right? But I want you to respond to the question now.
I want to talk about the comments you intended to make.
Yeah, I agree you want to because you look bad right now and you need to like save yourself, right? But that's just not the type of conversation that I'm interested in. You can't like unsay the retarded shit that you already said in the conversation. I want you to answer the question now.
What? Sorry, I don't.
You're just like, why are you doing this to yourself? Do you think this is a good look for you? Do you think you like rambling when I'm asking you for clarity is a better look than just seeking the clarity? Cool, you were supposed to be like some sort of rhetorician. Like you should understand like basic optics where you don't look good in the conversation if you're not answering right something that's obviously seeking clarity. So are you going to seek that clarity or are you going to keep fumbling around trying to do meta every single time you move to meta, you lose? Which one is it going to be, Clue? You've like sped past retardville and you're falling off a cliff right now. Are you going to answer my question or are you going to run away?
Goons, I didn't... Okay. Sorry.
Gather yourself. I know this is very tiring for you. Just gather yourself and answer the question rather than perpetually resorting to meta that you lose at every single time you move to. Everybody here wants to see the argument relayed in natural language so that we can have a normal conversation and move forward. Are you going to do that? Yes or no?
I already said yes, but
now do it.
I'm not just going to give up on all of these other things you're saying just because you are saying.
Okay, are you gonna relay it in natural language or not?
Did you hear me just say yes?
Yeah, yes, I heard you say yes 2 times now, and I'm not hearing you relay it, which is why I'm asking you for clarity if you're going to do it or not.
Things I want to say
now, if you're saying yes, I will in like 500 years, then sure, right? But that's not the type of conversation I'm looking for. I just want you to relay it in natural language. You've already lost on the meta. You moved to meta. You try to like obfuscate this so hard, and you're still losing. Just answer the question now, please. Everyone's seeking clarity. Everyone wants to hear the clarity. Just stop running and answer the question now.
Okay, I'm gonna put a pin in the you insulting me stuff, but we're coming back to it at the end of the debate. It's gonna be helpful for me to screen share this argument because I didn't anticipate you not being able to read it. I'm being fully
now. What's premise 1?
It would be helpful if I just screen share. I didn't anticipate you not knowing how to read it.
Yeah, what's premise 1?
So P1 is right here. It says exists in X. So don't take this the wrong way. I'm just being fully real. Do you know quantificational logic? It's also called predicate.
No, I made it very clear that I didn't understand. All right, I'm not like very well acquainted with first order logic, which is why like this isn't going to be productive unless I can like get clarity on what I'm actually reading here, right? And that's why I'm asking this, and that's why you keep trying to win these, like you keep opening up these doors to like win these like little rhetorical points, and you somehow lose every single time. Yes, I agree. I don't understand like first order logic. Awesome. Now present premise 1 in natural language so that we can move forward.
Goons, okay, I'm going to, but you need to understand that in the actual article I linked, all of the predicates are already defined in natural language, so you can just substitute.
Okay, and that's why I said I don't. Yes, and that's why I said just present it.
Just stop. The reason I'm confused is because
just calm down, Clue. Are you going to answer my question or not?
Can you just stop? I expected you to actually read what I said.
I don't know. Why are you sparking right now? Look, you already lost like the optics. You've already lost on the meta and optics. Just go to the substance now, please.
Why are we talking about?
Why are you spurging? Well, I want to know why you're spurging right now, Clue. This is supposed to be like an optical and rhetorical steamroll for you. You shouldn't be looking this bad already. Just answer the question now.
You're saying what I'm doing is spur.
Why are you still engaging in meta? You realize like every single time that you've tried to move to meta, you've lost, right?
Goons, you're right.
You're stumbling over yourself right now. You're like stuttering too. None of this is a good look for you, Clue. If you cared about optics, you would just engage in the substance. So please go back to the substance. Everyone here wants to see you go back to the substance. Please go back to the substance.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to do a packing thing with you. I'm just.
Yeah, I don't want to either. That's why you keep moving the substance. You keep moving to rhetoric. I want to go to substance.
Stop. Just talk about the argument, okay? Seriously.
Yeah.
I will.
What's premise 1?
Talk about it. Yeah, so I need to turn off my push to talk so that I can walk through first order logic. Okay. Goons, in the world, and I'm going to speak somewhat unprecisely here because it's just going to be helpful for articulating stuff. In the world, there are all these things which have properties, okay? So it's like a table has a property. I'm looking at my.
But you don't need to translate first order logic, Clue. I want you to just deliver premise 1 in natural language. Are you going to do that or not?
Okay.
Also, if Moxie the dog keeps spamming in chat, I'm probably going to ban you again. Go like think of a dog bone or something, Moxie. Moxie's your only supporter, Clue. Do
you want this clarified or not? Because like if you keep interrupting it, it's just going to make it really hard for me. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Does this count as natural language to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful.
Okay. Do you want to read it
I
out?
should say, if there's an error in the transcription, no, I don't. If there's an error in the transcription, I'd like you to say what premise in this argument. This is not actually the argument. This is the first premise. I'd like.
Oh,
you to
this
say
is all the
premise in
first premise.
argument is
Okay.
wrong. Yeah. Anyway, that's why I didn't want to.
Okay.
Okay. The point is that.
Okay, X is a state of affairs, and X is a state of affairs in which an animal dies an agonizing death in a forest, or inclusive. X is a wait. What did you say?
I just wanted to say one more thing, which was that if my transcription is slightly wrong, I just defer to the argument and I'll correct it.
Okay.
You can read through this if you want.
Okay. I guess we need a little bit of clarity on I guess the fourth thing there, which is X is intrinsically bad or undesirable. I guess can we get a little bit of disambiguation on that?
Sure. I just mean bad as it's intended in the Bible. So, in the Bible there are passages, and I can post passages where God will talk about observing in the world good. So he'll say, things to the effect of he sees good in the world. And I am just describing that X, this way the world is, where, either a child undergoes, lingering suffering and eventual death due to cancer, or an animal dies an agonizing death in the forest. I'm just expressing that these things are intrinsically bad insofar as the Bible means them, or insofar as the Bible means bad.
Okay, and I guess why would I grant, like, all things considered, that there are bad things in the world? Like, given we're talking about the God worldview, right?
Oh, sure. All things considered, it sounds like you're saying that you are skeptical that bads exist which are, given all available information, or not information, given all facts that there are, bad. So perhaps you're saying that perhaps it is that they are in service of some goal. And so you're asking me why I think that these bads that are apparently bad are actually bad. Is that right?
Well, I was just saying that, seemingly like everything's going to be justified through God, right? Or at least that's their view.
For that.
Sorry, what'd you say?
What's the argument for that?
For a seeming? What's the argument for a seeming?
No. When you said that it seems true to you, I thought that you were saying it was true, and the seeming just expressed low confidence.
No, that's just like how I've seen it expressed, right? Like that everything's everything's to some degree justified. What do you say?
So you don't actually think it? You're not introducing it as a way to
no.
For your perspective?
Yeah, I'm saying that obviously there can be like some sort of Christian worldview where there is nothing that's technically wrong, right? And by the way, you said like wrong in the view of the Bible.
What do you mean by technically wrong? Oh, you're saying that it's hypothetically possible that there's a Christian
No. That God has like a morally sufficient reason for everything that happens.
Yeah, that sounds like you're just saying what I'm saying again. So you're asking, why would you think that there exists a bad, such that the bad is an on balance bad, that in consideration of all these other concern. Okay, you're asking that. Okay. It sounds like you're calling into question premise one. Premise one says that there does exist this kind of state that is truly bad. Let me do some expositing on how I mean bad here. When I'm saying that there exists this bad thing, I intend to say that there's an on-balance bad. Now, I understand that you could call into question that there is such an on-balance bad, but I want to be clear that what I'm not doing is saying that there's perhaps a narrow bad. So I'm just referring to the subset of bads that are actually bad on balance. Does that make sense? Then you're calling into question that any such bad exists. I understand that.
Yeah.
But do you understand? Okay, you understand how I'm construing bad. So you're calling into question P1, essentially.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me grab the argument for P1. Oh. So the argument for P1 is a very simple little argument. It looks scary, but it isn't. It's just P1 again, but particularized about an actual example. So all I'm saying is, okay, I'm going to talk about this one example. Here's this example of this thing, an example of something which is actually bad. And I'm going to talk about that example. And because that example exists, I'm able to say, from this example, the general statement, some example of this exists, is true. Does that make sense? I understand how that could be confusing, which is kind of why I wanted to explain predicate logic, because this is called existential generalization. It's a very boring move.
No, that's not fully clear for me.
I respect that. In predicate, can I explain the quantifiers? When I did it before, you were annoyed.
Wait, can I just get clear what the relevance is?
Well, because the step that I'm making in this argument would benefit from a bit of knowledge about what the exists in X quantifier means. Because I use it. Because I go from a particular example to an existentially generalized example.
Okay, just to be clear, the question is like, I guess why would I grant that there are bad things under this view?
Yeah. I know. And I'm saying that you were calling into question premise 1, and I'm presenting an argument for premise 1. And to understand that argument, it would be beneficial to understand a small amount of quantificational logic. Goons, you will be annoyed with how easy it is. You will think that I was like overcomplicating the argument. Okay, it will be so easy. Okay, how about we just do it, and if you think I'm distracting, you stop me. Okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
This symbol means there exists something which fulfills these properties. Okay? So I could say, for example, that there exists, I'm going to use the number 3 to denote it, but just know that when I'm using 3, I actually mean this backwards E. I can say there exists an X such that, blue at X. And I'm used to quantificational logic, which is written like this. And all this would mean is like, there's at least one object which satisfies the condition that it is blue. There's this existent object, it actually exists. It's blue.
Wait, just to be clear, you have to explain this for the justification that there are bad things under the view that everything has a morally sufficient reason.
I have to explain it. I think that my explaining it would help make the argument I just gave more clear.
Okay, continue then.
I don't want to say anything about that. Okay, so this is different. This doesn't say there exists an X, okay? This doesn't say, there is something that satisfies this condition. This is talking about a particular object which satisfies the condition. It's like, here's this one thing, it satisfies this. When you go from, here's an example of something that is, of a certain property, to a general statement that at least something with this property exists, this is called existential generalization. And it's the move that I'm making in the argument I gave. So if you scroll up, I say argument for P4 or argument for P1 in one of the messages. Oh. In the argument for P1, I literally just do the move of existential generalization. I just say, there is this example, and here's how I reach from this example to the general claim that I'm making in P1. It's really trivial. It's really small. It's just helpful to point out because if I didn't do this maneuver, technically the argument would be formally invalid. Does that make sense?
Like relatively sure.
Cool. All right. So in this new argument I've given you, there's only one premise to call into question. So I'm guessing you're going to call into question P1. P1 just seems trivial to me based on a bunch of examples, which I've posted in chat, or I will post in chat in a second. So These are a bunch of links, and they're intimidating links again, but they don't have to be. They're just sort of reasons to motivate one. They're not an argument. I'm not providing an argument for one. I assume one, because it seems so obvious to me. These examples, the 4 I'm giving, are just, or these 4 links I'm giving, are supposed to give you an idea of why I think it's so obvious that one is true. Does that make sense?
Oh, you're just saying, wait, so your justification for, why bad things occur is that these are bad things and they occur.
Yeah. That's all that happens in the argument from before. And then now I'm talking about particular examples of things that I think are on balance bad. I know it's it took a really long way to get there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I was just saying that, there can be some view, right, where everything has some sort of morally sufficient reason. And then presumably that would just make this argument unsound. But I mean, we can even continue off of this, right? I can just grant, the first premise.
You can grant the first premise? I don't think you can grant it as I mean it. I mean there are on balance bads. Bads that are not in consideration worth it. Worth it to some higher order goal. For example, I'm saying that when a child dies of cancer as an infant baby, that isn't worth it for any higher order goal. And I'm taking that to be self-evident. When I'm pointing out the Australian wildfires, which I think killed 3 billion animals, I'm saying that is self-evidently bad. It's not in service of something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just saying that, it's obviously, you agree that it's obviously possible that there's some, morally sufficient reason for all these bad things, right?
That there's something that it's worth it for to do that? Sorry, something that these are instrumental towards that, God would want?
Just, that it's possible that these things have a morally sufficient reason to, occur.
Yeah, sure. That doesn't criticize the argument as I've given it.
Okay, I was just that was the only clarification there for premise 1. And then, can we just get clear on your definition of omnipotence there?
That's so out of left field. That isn't. I can do it. It's just I'm just surprised. So you're just giving me all the first part of P1?
Well, I don't know if that's how you can interpret what I said. I said that somebody could hold the view that there is a morally sufficient reason for everything, and so I could just actually remain agnostic on that. But then, the follow-up question was, what's your definition of omnipotence?
Sorry, I should wind back then. That's not how I mean P1. The way that I mean P1 is I mean to talk about bads that are not morally sufficient. Or sorry, that do not have morally sufficient reason.
Yeah, wait, I'll ask it again. You agree that it's logically possible that there is a morally sufficient for these bad things? And that's a yes or a no, right?
Oh, not the ones that I'm talking about, no.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that it's logically impossible that there are some bads that have a morally sufficient reason?
Well, yeah, in the subset of bads that I'm talking about, I'm only talking about those bads that don't have morally sufficient reasons.
Yeah, I guess why would I grant that?
Why would you grant that I'm only talking about the bads that
No, not why you're talking about it. I'm asking you,
that's all I said.
What's the justification for it?
What's the justification for what?
You know the proposition that you're referring to?
The proposition
You think I was objecting to the meta thing, where you were talking about talking?
No. I'm not packing you right now, Goons. I'm being totally legit. I literally don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Do you want to repeat what you said, and I'll repeat what I said, and hopefully this time you can catch on? Go ahead. Repeat the thing that you said, and then I'll repeat the thing that I said, and we'll see if that works.
You're doing this petty insult game again, and I don't want
to. I'm genuinely. I mean, again, this might be condescending. Just kind of. So this might be a little bit condescending to you, but we'll just. Whoa.
You know what you're doing.
Whoa.
You know that that's what you're doing.
Just calm down there, Clue. So just calm down there, Clue. I'm saying that.
Hang on, little bud. You don't.
Okay, so what I'm saying is we can actually. Whoa. Are you okay, Clue? Are you trying to hack me? Just calm down. I don't want to do this type of debate. We're having a very.
I am objecting.
What is happening?
I'm annoyed that you started
Okay, just calm down, Clue. So,
We're having a disagreement about whether or not you're bad.
okay, just calm down,
What are you
Clue. So,
laughing at right now, dude?
so you don't know what I'm laughing at? You couldn't possibly infer what I'm laughing at? Okay. I'll just leave it. I'll just sort of leave it to the audience if they know what I'm laughing at.
I didn't know what you were laughing at.
Clue, you don't have to pack me up to like try to win this debate. It's fine. Let's just like continue this cordially.
I haven't insulted you once.
Yeah, well, just calm down. So we're going to continue, and hopefully we can continue the cordial debate that we were having. Okay?
I'm sure you want it to be cordial after harassing me on a bunch of servers to get this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was confusing to me. It was confusing to me, by the way, why you were so mean in chat, but when I got here, you reeled it in. I now understand that it was because you were afraid. Look, Goons, okay? I don't understand what you were saying before, and I'm not going to rehash the whole debate. I was only talking about those bads which are on balance bad, all right?
Uh-huh. Do you remember my question now?
Trivially, it's impossible that those bads are in service of something. They cannot have a principle. It could not be that they have sufficient reason for it.
And do you remember what the question was, Clue? Well, just calm down. So do you remember what the question was, Clue?
You asked several questions. Which question are you referring to?
So obviously, if I'm saying the question, I'm going to be referring to the question that was relevant to the thing that you're saying. Can you infer that, or do I have to spell it out for you again?
No, there's been too much conversation in the middle. I don't remember.
Okay, so you like moved to rhetoric so hard that you like went frantic and forgot what you were saying. Okay, awesome. So just Clue. You can't keep doing this. Like you have to know this isn't. You have to know this about yourself. Like this, you know this isn't a good look, right? You know you're not like performing. Like you know spurging isn't going to work for you.
Not even. Oh my God.
Okay, so
not even you.
So I asked you what the justification for that claim was. Now, are you going to deliver that justification?
There's which claim, which premise?
The one that you just said. The one that you just said.
I just made a claim about your meta insulting, Goons.
So the one that I was referring to was obviously the one that's in adherence to the argument.
Just say the thing. Just say the thing.
Yeah, Clue. Just simmer down, okay? We're gonna get through this, okay? So I was referring to you saying that there's some bads that it's a logical impossibility for there to be a morally sufficient reason for it, right?
Oh, you're talking about P1 again.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Logically, yeah, I'm not sorry. Whoa, okay. That's not what I meant. I wasn't saying that there are some bads that it's logically impossible have a good explanation for them.
Okay, so then you just don't remember what my question was.
No, just please let me finish.
Well, I'll just say you don't remember what my question was. My question was, do you agree that it's logically possible that there are some... Well, Clue. No, because you're lost and I'm saving you.
You're not. You're
Well, just calm down, Clue.
And you want to turn this into a roast off.
You want to keep like, I don't know, why do you keep resorting to spurging, Clue? We're both calm here, or at least we were, until like you started to realize that you were losing optically, and you're moving to rhetoric, and it's just not, no one finds it like appealing. Just calm down, Clue. We're gonna get through this. I understand that you're a little bit nervous right now. You're supposed to win this debate, and you're not doing very well.
This has anything to do with the argument.
Just
talk about the argument.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. You keep doing rhetoric, and it's not going well for you.
You just brought up the audience. Okay?
Yes, that's why, because you were just doing rhetoric. That's what happens.
No, I was just annoyed and expressing annoyance.
And you were talking about meta. You were talking about talking. And so I talked about talking back. That's what happens. I followed the conversation.
I was saying a sentence and you interrupted me.
Look, Clue, do you want to go grab a drink real quick and then come back?
I don't. My mind is blown. Okay, whatever. Let's talk about what it is that I feel that I said beforehand and what I intend to communicate to you. Okay. I do not intend to say that there exist evils, like things that are bad, that are logically incapable of being good. That's not what I want to talk about. What I want to say
Do you remember? Wait, just to be clear, you do remember that was one of my questions, right, Clue?
Cutting me off here. This is the...
Yeah, because you didn't track. Do you agree that was one of my questions?
Do I agree that I didn't state a question? I just said a proposition.
No. Do you agree that was one of my questions? So what you just said wouldn't have been answering one of my questions, because my question earlier was, do you agree that there are some logically possible, seemingly immoral things that have a morally sufficient reason? And you answered that with no, which is why we're on this path right now. And then again, that's why I objected, because you actually weren't tracking. So I was doing that out of good faith, because you didn't know what you were responding to, because you objected to the wrong thing.
That's not... You don't even believe that, dude.
You're going to use the same rhetorical line that you've already recycled? Okay. Now, Clue. The question's very clear.
I'm not recycling anything. I'm just responding to you.
Okay.
Look. I want to finish this sentence because I think it answers the question, but I don't...
Well, so the question was, do you agree that I've already asked about logical possibility and that you answered with no?
I honestly don't even remember.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That's all I wanted to establish. Now continue.
Do you want to establish that I forgot part of the question?
Yeah, because you just objected that you just objected to me saying that. You said that I don't even believe what I just said, referring to asking you the question.
No, what I said a second ago was that the statement I had just made that you were calling a question was not a question, that it was a recounting of the events in the discussion. But I'm not saying that
I didn't. Wait, just to be clear, I didn't call what you did a question.
Yes, you did.
Okay. I mean, if you again, you actually... Okay, I'm not even going to do this. Continue.
You're the one who started it, bro. It's like you're on the street and punching...
Well, when I said that was my question, you didn't think that I was referring to my question? You thought that I labeled the 7 propositions that you laid out a question? That's what you thought?
No. Okay. I don't think that. You said that something I was saying was a question, and I just...
No, I didn't. Okay, then you just didn't hear me right. Maybe your headset cut out. It's fine. Continue.
I don't have a headset, and you did.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. I'm saying that whatever listening device that you're using might have fucked up when I asked you the question, because you've already had a proclivity to not remember things properly.
I don't.
But continue.
Proclivity. What makes you say that I've had that proclivity?
We literally just established that you didn't remember what you were saying earlier.
And you think that establishes a general proclivity that I don't...
Yeah, it's happened 3 times now. Now, can we continue, or are you going to keep doing meta that you lose at every single time?
I don't think that establishes very much about my general proclivities.
Okay.
I think it just establishes that the conversation is somewhat abstract.
Yep, awesome. Yeah, it gives us no reason whatsoever to think that. Now continue.
I didn't say that. No, that's not what I said. I just said that it doesn't...
Look, everyone wants to get back to the substance. You've already... I don't know, you know you shouldn't stay on rhetoric when you're losing, right? I know that you... Do you want to go back to the substance or not?
Goons, you think that this is a performance for me, but I'm just trying to talk with you.
Okay, awesome. Was it a performance when you were typing in announcements earlier? Because you straightforwardly admitted to that. We're doing a stage debate right now. Obviously, you're doing this to some degree performatively. Now, are you going to continue to the substance, or are you going to go back? Okay, you're going to keep
I'm just having a conversation.
Let me know when you're done sparking. I'm going to ask the exact same question. Go ahead.
Look, I don't want to waste time either. It's just you're the one saying things that I'm responding to here. So I don't know what it is. I guess I'm bothered by the fact that you would decide to say all of these negative things on the meta level and then expect me not to say anything about them. But we can talk about the actual argument. When before I was answering your question, and it was that I said that it was impossible that this set of bad things be sufficiently reasoned for, be something that is on balance good. It was impossible that those ones would be, because I was referring only to those ones that aren't, to those ones which aren't in service of some greater goal. And so, it can't be that those ones are, because they are literally just nothing more than the ones that aren't. You can call into question whether or not there are any such things. And that's why I didn't say that I was...
Yeah, that was the question, by the way.
Again, what I just said there was not a question. It was just a proposition. It was just an account of what
Are we going to go through the same thing that you fucked up on last time? I really hope this performance is only because you're nervous. I really because people were hyping you up to be some apex debater. You're going to destroy me or whatever. This has been like really, really bad. I really hope it improves from here. No, I was saying that was the question that I asked. Well, cool. Just let me finish the sentence and I'll let you finish yours, okay? So the question that I asked was, why would I grant that there are such things like that? I don't know if you just couldn't have inferred that, the thing that you were referencing was the question that I asked. I asked a question about that thing.
No, that's the conclusion of my argument for P1. We had a whole conversation about existential generalization about it. So do you think that I didn't answer that? I'm free to answer it again. I literally pre-prepared an argument for it, a formal one, and you watched it. That's just
wait. Are you talking about the whole? Okay, hold on. We can go over the thing you put in chat then. Sure.
I mean, yeah, I am talking about that. That is what the definition of that is formally.
Okay. Yeah, I guess what's P1? And again, we're gonna have to do this in natural language for like clarity here. What's P1 where the conclusion is the proposition in P1?
What? I already rendered all of P1 informally. What do you... Wait,
you said an argument for P1. So I agree you gave P1 informally. I'm asking you for an informal justification. Or not informal, but just in natural language, for the justification for P1.
Yeah. Now, sorry. Okay, Goons. You're asking for the justification in natural language for P1 in the 7 proposition. It's not actually. It's actually 6 propositions and only 4 premises. But you're asking for an argument for the first premise in the syllogism on the SCP? I just want to make sure I'm interpreting you right before I say the same thing I said before.
So that wouldn't be a proper interpretation. It'd be a more specific thing. And again, maybe I really hope this is just because you're nervous. I really think like this like frantic, like weird spurging thing where you like forget everything immediately after goes away at least in like 5 minutes. But the question was, why would I? What is happening? What? Are you okay?
If you start packing, I'm gonna start playing piano over top of you, bro.
Okay.
It's gonna be embarrassing for both of us. Look, are you asking?
Wait, can I just like finish what I'm saying, or are you gonna keep?
Not this time, no.
Okay, you can continue then. Go ahead. You can do this little like rhetorical thing while you pontificate and conjure up an answer, and then what I'm gonna do is ask you the same question again. Go ahead, Clue.
You're going on.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's how sentences work. They go on. Now, are you gonna answer my question?
Actually, well, your sentences are usually. No, I won't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do that. No, Goons.
Yeah, it seems like you've learned that every time you move to rhetoric, you lose. I'm glad you saved yourself there. Now continue.
I don't think you even believe that. But anyway.
You can't use the same line 4 times when it's already been outed as like a recycled line. And it's obviously not applicable. Everyone here thinks you look bad right now. Even if they think that you're winning on substance, which you're not. Nobody here thinks that you're like performing well in the conversation. I really hope you understand that. And if you don't think that, you just don't have a good understanding of optics. But continue, Clue.
You're still going. Okay. You're asking for an argument for P1 of the SCP article in natural language, right?
Do you remember what my question was specifically?
I'm going to guess it was, what is the argument for P1?
Do you think that was the specific way that I phrased it? Do you think I was referring to something specific there?
For not remembering literally exactly.
Okay, so this is and you called into question why I thought that you have a proclivity for not understanding what you said earlier and not remembering very well. This is just going to be another piece of evidence that sort of feeds into that hypothesis. Well, clue.
Just finish the sentence. What did I say word for word?
Well, just calm down there, Clue. So, no. I'm saying that you're. Wait, just calm down. So I'm saying that you can't relate meaningfully what I was referring to. You're just like vaguely remembering, right? Now, Clue. Literally what you said. Clue. Just simmer down, okay? We're gonna get through this together. Again, do you want to go get a drink? We can take a break right here, and you can go to if this like genuinely. I'm being as generous as possible. Do you want to take a break and like recollect for yourself? Because you're like melting away right now. Like everything that you were once like considered to be is just like eroding away.
Goons.
Like I don't know if you were just made soft by like all of this like weird like this like weird shit that just hasn't worked. People are saying in chat that you should just take a water break. We're gonna do a water break, Clue. Just go take a water break. Recollect yourself, and we can continue this in 5 minutes. Okay.
You're running away. I don't even.
Yeah. Yes. You got me. I'm running away, Clue. Just calm down. Okay. I want to give you time to calm down. If you don't want to take that opportunity, we can continue. I guess if that's really what you want to do.
You don't even want me to take the opportunity. You just want to.
No.
This optical win from laughing at me.
Yes. It's only optical. Yes.
Yeah, it is only optical.
Yes. Awesome. You got me. You got me. You won. Yes. You're a rhetorical mastermind, Clue. Can we continue, or are we going to continue? Are we going to continue, or are we going to keep?
Yes, let's continue. Yes.
Okay, awesome. Wes, awesome, Wes.
What? Wait, what did you say?
You said Wes. I was just sorry.
Are you serious?
You combined the less and Wes. Sorry.
Okay, what are you doing? Let's. I don't remember what you said verbatim. I'm not going to be able to say it again. I don't think people usually are. I want to talk about the argument, and it sounds like you're re-asking. I don't want to characterize it as negative. It's just you're re-asking. You're re-asking what the argument is for P1, so we can talk about that. I'm cool to talk about it. Are you looking for support for the idea that there is this particular example which is really bad, or are you just looking for the formal existential generalization thing? Probably the first, right?
No. So I guess we can just see clarity here. Are you making the claim that there are such bads that don't have some sort of grander or morally sufficient reason? Okay.
Yes.
And then the question is what's the argument for that?
Oh. So that's the argument given for P1 because that's what P1 says, and it's the existential generalization argument.
Yeah. So go ahead and relay it in natural language.
That would require that I retranscribe all of P1 again.
You'd have to retranscribe P1 to relay it in natural language?
Well, it is
you couldn't just
P1. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. I guess we can, then sure. I mean, we can do that though for clarity, I guess, yeah.
You don't want to. Whatever. Okay, whatever. Can I just explain to you the spirit of the argument and not have to explain it literally?
I mean, I guess, you could do that. That's what you want to do.
Okay. So I'll give it in chat. The spirit of the argument is just to rely on the fact that there are a bunch of examples which seem to have nothing to do with future, anything, future, that they're not going to have very much impact on the future, but that narrowly are bad in the way that the Bible means it now. Things like the Australian wildfire where 3 billion animals died. Things like childhood cancer. It's possible in principle that any of the examples I'm giving fail to be an instance of the badness that I'm talking about. But if they satisfy being the sort of badness that I want to talk about, then it's necessary that God does not exist. Or it's not necessary, it just is that God doesn't exist. So the examples I'm relying on for things that are very little future good, it's just that 1 out of the 3 billion dead animals from the Australian wildfires just kind of died for no reason. They just died. Or that 1 of the many, many children who die every year from cancer died for no reason. And in a way that's not going to have some better long-term impact. If you're not willing to give me the obvious sort of fact that just there isn't anything that's changed at all by a random doe dying in a forest, I don't know if we have much to say to one another. We can talk about some things that would mean for your faith, or not for your faith, for a faithful person's faith. You are agnostic about the proposition.
Okay, so let's just get clear here. You're granting that it's obviously going to be possible that these things have a morally sufficient reason, but you're saying that it's more expected under the hypothesis, seemingly at least, that there's not a morally sufficient reason. These things seem very unintuitive, and it doesn't seem like we're going to have a morally sufficient reason. Is that the type of claim you're making?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I guess the question would just become why is it going to be, I guess, more expected under that hypothesis?
More expected that these things are Sorry, can you? This actually is my fault. More expected that what?
Yeah, like it's going to be more expected. It's going to be more expected that there's not a morally sufficient reason for it.
Oh, sure. The reason that it's going to be more expected, and I'd like to talk informally about these reasons because we're going to be talking about a lot of examples, is that there are very, 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 very many of them. So, there are a lot of animals that died in the Australian wildfires. There's nothing that's selecting out of the Australian wildfires to pick for older animals. A lot of them are going to be really young. Some percentage of them are going to be like astronomically young. They're not going to have an opportunity to have much of an impact on anything. If a single time it turns that one of the animals just don't really affect anything at all in the future, God cannot possibly exist. So the thing just relies on the sort of self-evident fact that there's going to be any case at all, where they fail to be actually important to anything, that their lives are just not of very much consequence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so everything would have to have a morally sufficient reason.
Yeah, literally everything, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I agree. That's like, I understand your position. The question was, why is it going to be more expected under that hypothesis rather than, the other hypothesis?
I must not understand. I'm giving cases of things. I'm taking it for granted that a morally sufficient reason is the sort that involves something happening in the future. So it's not that an evil or a bad thing can just happen and have a morally sufficient reason for it. It has to be in service of something. So it's like
hold on, just to be clear, you think it's a necessary condition that something, if something's like morally sufficient, then it has to be serving a purpose in the future?
That if something is like that if something, how do I express this? Okay, I'm gonna express it. Oh man, this is challenging. Okay, Goons, there are things which are obviously like in the short term really bad, right? Like if I get my arm lopped off, that's obviously really bad. If I get a bionic arm in the future, that's going to be like, oh, I guess it wasn't so bad that I got my arm chopped off. And so there was a sufficient reason for my arm getting chopped off. Okay, talking now about the things which like narrowly are just like obviously bad sorts of things in the world, like, little infant children dying. It has to be that they're actually in service of something for them to have a principle for them to have sufficient reason. If they do nothing, if there's nothing that they are like towards or instrumental to, then it isn't that they have any sufficient reason for them.
Yeah. I understand your position fully. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So the question. Oh, I was just gonna say the question is, I guess why would it be expected that these, cases are going to be more expected under the hypothesis that there's not a morally sufficient reason, rather than that there is a morally sufficient reason?
And it's that many of the cases are such that, or there is a good chance that many of the cases are such that they can't have any impact on anything in the future, or very much of any impact on anything in the future.
That's just to say that there wouldn't be a morally sufficient reason, which I agree that's your position. The question is, why would it be more expected under that?
No, it's to say a little bit more than that. Say that I were to die tomorrow, and that were to cause all of these changes, but the changes were really bad. That wouldn't be sufficient. That wouldn't be of sufficient reason, but it would still be that, my death had caused all this stuff. To have sufficient reason, it has to be that they both cause stuff and that the stuff that they cause is enough to outweigh all this bad stuff. What I'm saying is that there are these examples which seem like there should be nothing that they cause in the future at all, because they're just so obscure, such that it is that they would have a sufficient reason is extremely implausible. And I'm picking examples like a baby deer with a dead mother in the middle of the forest dying from a fire, out of the 3 billion that died at all. Not 3 billion deer, 3 billion animals. Does that make sense? So it's not just that I'm saying this silly narrow thing, which is like, oh, if there were no sufficient reason, there wouldn't be one. What I'm saying is that for there to be a sufficient reason, there has to be something that they cause in the future. There isn't any opportunity for some of these seemingly to have any impact on anything. And then I'm picking an example where it's incredibly implausible that they do.
Yeah. The question is, why would I grant that it like seemingly doesn't have an impact? Because like under because like we would just expect of God
sort of observational facts, irrespective of like God tell you that there wouldn't be, like the deer.
So you're saying we have like we don't have like equal priors that these things have morally sufficient reasons?
Well, I think I'm saying that evidence is going to condition you here. So I don't think I'm saying there's a prior.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Are you now hoping that I'm going to give you examples of these sorts of things which seem not to have like future causal impact?
But just to be clear, you're saying a necessary condition is that it has this sort of like causal impact, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that to be instrumentally good in the way that would provide sufficient reason requires something that they are sufficient reason to words. I think this is traditional also in theocracy. Or sorry, I think they're called theodicies. Like I think this is what they say traditionally, where they're like, for example, when humans undergo horrible suffering, they'll say things like it's character building.
Sure. I mean, like, okay, so just to be clear, you're saying that if a Christian is like held to the position of the way in which you define, I guess, or how they take morally sufficient reasons is having some like causal future thing occur or whatever because of this happening or whatever.
Well, that's just how I interpret the Bible. It's not so much that I'm saying, any Christian who would believe this would be committed out. I'm saying narrowly that when I understand Christianity, that's the sort of thing that I understand them to be talking about insofar as it concerns sufficient reasons. So I'm not narrowly talking about only a subset of Christians. I'm broadly talking about people who believe in the Bible. Like, look. They're saying that there's this thing which had instrumental value to a goal God wanted to accomplish, right? Well, it has to be then that they had some impact on the goal. And to have an impact on the goal, they have to have some impact altogether. And then I'm talking about the case. I'm saying like, well, no, it doesn't seem like it does. Because it's like, it turned to ash and then blew away.
Yeah, I agree that you have a seeming that these things don't have a morally sufficient reason.
Oh, I thought you were disagreeing with this idea that there's this.
No. I'm saying I agree that you have that position. Right. I was just wondering what the justification for that position is. And it seems like when you point to these examples, the justification is like, oh, it obviously a kangaroo dying here or getting burnt alive here or whatever. This obviously doesn't have any morally sufficient reason.
So when I'm talking about the seeming, I'm not being weird. I'm just talking about a sort of feeling that I have. I can give some inferential reasons to, but construing them into an argument with with more form is going to be kind of aggravating. Like we're going to find it really annoying to formalize this. So I prefer to give it natural language. One reason to believe that these things aren't going to have any impact is that things seem to have, not seem, I shouldn't use that word. Things impact other things through the laws of physics. Okay, well, these things turn to ash, right? There isn't really a good way for them to affect anything. Like, they can't hit an object with very much mass because they're extremely low in mass. They can't will anything, so they can't, like, decide to hit anything. They're probably diffused into random chemical interactions. Like, or sorry, no, if it's carbon, because they're ash, they're chemically inert. Because carbon doesn't interact with very much of anything. Well, is that true? Carbon bonded, yeah. Carbon bonded other carbon. Yeah, I think it's extremely inert. The sort of ways that things conventionally affect other things is just not ways these have access to. And so the probability that they're able to affect anything is definitely proportionate to that. So it's implausible that they're able to affect anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're saying it's implausible that these like have some morally sufficient reason. Yeah. Giving examples of other things where it seems like this has like some insignificant effect, causally at least. to things in the future. Yeah.
You said the conclusion of the argument as if it was a premise, and like as if I was begging the question. That wasn't question begging. That's the conclusion I intend to reach, and the way that I reached it was by pointing out these facts that they don't have very many physical laws according to which they're able to affect anything, because they're inert chemically, and they're also without will because they don't have brains to have psychologies. They don't have bodies to move with. A pile of ash does not have very much ability to affect anything through the physical laws. And so it's less expected on the hypothesis that they have any impact on anything because there's very little way for them to. At least provided you accept that.
Like, for example, okay, let's just say, like, we could obviously just, like, continually think of ways in which these do have, like, this weird, like, net positive effect. Like, for example, like, if that whole forest fire happened or whatever, and then let's just say that there's, numerous different things that occur, like, people start to donate more significantly, and then for some reason people get, like, more compassionate, and then, let's just say people turn more vegan because they get upset about these things. Like, there's a lot of different ways that, like, on a grand scale, it seems like we could have some sort of, like, morally sufficient reason for all of these things. And so in that case, it doesn't seem like there's going to be... What'd you say?
I agree with... Maybe I misunderstood you. I don't want to cut you off. I know you're in the middle of a statement. But if I understood what you were saying there the right way, you were saying that, on balance, all of these instances of animals dying, we have good reason to think that there's sufficient reason for that to happen. Because, there's a lot of different ways that they can go about affecting that. I can see the total group. So if you imagine every single one, like we open up the Windows select screen and we say, select all these animals, and you select all of their deaths at once, I can see that the way that the totality of their deaths is able to have an impact. But if you pick any particular one, I don't understand very much way that they could. Again, it only has to be that one of them don't for it to be impossible that God exists. So, or it's actually worse than that it's impossible. It would just be that God doesn't exist. And then we can talk about the particular ones. And if you feel that the particular ones actually have a good way to affect things that are reasonably high probability, that I would find confusing. And I would like to hear, I'd like to hear some reason to think that. I don't want a formal argument or something. I would just like some reasons.
Well, yeah, I'm just not sure that, I would grant that there are these things that don't have morally sufficient reasons. But even if I... Yeah. That's why I said I'm not sure if I would grant that. And then
I'm giving an argument for that. So you can't just say I don't agree with the conclusion. I know that you don't. I'm looking for you to.
Yeah, that's why I was about to say, like, so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we were like, in order for all of this to be true, this is some, like, contradiction between, like, the omni properties and this thing being true. Like, so these omni properties and evil existing, right?
Yeah, the contradiction about the omni properties are all in the argument is given. But
yeah, so, like, you're saying it can't be the case, that he's omnipotent, omniscient, all of these properties can't be true while there's evil, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then
that's the outer argument. Like, we're deep into premise one, which is about whether or not there exist any cases of evil.
Like I said, it just didn't seem like we were making much lenience there because, again, I'm not sure that, even these, like, cases that you're providing would add credence to the view that there, are, evils that exist that don't have morally sufficient reasons. And, like, we've been doing that back and forth for, like, at least 20 minutes now, which is why I said, I'm more interested right now in the omni properties because, it seems like this is also going to be doing a lot of...
Oh, you want to talk about omnipotence? Before we talk about it, I would like to get a pretty big concession out of you. You're saying that you think that the, like, chemically inert carbon ash of a deer seems entirely plausible to you to be able to cause this enormous impact on the world such that its death would be sufficiently reasoned for.
That's, like, a really, really weird framing, and I'm not sure if I would grant it in that way. What I'm saying is that I'm just not sure that this like kangaroo dying in, like, Australia doesn't have a morally sufficient reason. And you're saying that it might not have, like, some physical, saying it might not have some, like, physical causal power such that there's, like, some morally sufficient reason. And I might even like, again, I'm still agnostic on that, but I'm just not even sure.
Well,
Sorry, I was reading through something there.
no, that's fine. Chat's annoying. I try to ignore it now.
No, it wasn't chat. It was a DM.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I don't know how you can disagree with my accounting. It's like not a fun accounting to agree with, but it is what you're saying. Because I'm not pointing to this particular deer or this particular,
Well, it's because you specifically indexed it to like some physical, like causal thing, right? And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like that it could be like there's so many different ways that this could have some morally sufficient reason.
Oh, I don't.
And that's just out of like sheer possibility.
I don't actually understand how it could have a principle of sufficient. How it could have sufficient reason with no causal ability to affect things after it.
No physical. So you don't think that something could have a morally sufficient reason for it occurring without it being the case that it has like some physical, I guess, physical thing on.
Some future causal.
Hold on, let me grab it. Hold on. Give me a second. I have to. Hold on. I'll be right back. Okay. Give me like a minute and a half.
That's fine. How's everybody doing?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right, I'm back.
Oh, yeah, you got back before I could do piano intermission. Do you want to do a little piano intermission, even though you were, even though you're back?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's do it. I'm going to turn off echo cancellation, off noise suppression, push to talk is already off. Should be able to do it now. Can you hear this? Is that audible? Is this audible? I can't tell. Somebody in chat say if it's audible. Okay. Let's try to do this one. Oh, you want take 5? Okay. Okay, we can go back to it if you'd like. Oh, I used to know Autumn Leaves set, but I don't anymore.
All right, I have like 10 to 15 more minutes for this.
Well, okay. We can do the debate for 10 to 15 more minutes. I don't know if we're going to have much more to say. I imagine that you want to do Sep some justice by talking about the omnipotence property and seeing how I define
Yeah, the more, because I've never actually like had a discussion on. Oh, by the way, your echo is like insane.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Yeah, so I've like never talked about the problem of evil before. So this is like the first time I've even like genuinely the words have ever like left my mouth. The problem of evil. Like I've heard it talked about a few times.
I'm running the logical problem of evil, but then I'm giving evidential reasons for the particular thing that I'm talking about.
I did read. I remember I was gonna find it. That's why I left. I was looking for because I was reading through an SAP on it like a few months ago, and there was some guy that takes the view that basically like God's like just like a weak, like little bitch, and that's what Sepp was talking about. So.
Oh yes. Well, I thought Sepp was just saying that there's some more constraints on the omnipotence thing than. So one way you can avoid the logical problem of evil is to say, no, God isn't very powerful altogether. But another way you can avoid it is by saying there's just a little bit of constraint on this idea of omnipotence. For example, perhaps he can't do logically impossible things. And I'm guessing that Sepp probably wanted the second.
Well, yeah. So I was just gonna say, like, let's just grant that there is evil. Let's grant that he prefers this not to happen. Let's grant that he's all knowing, but let's just say that he's like a weak bitch, right? Let's just say he like to whatever degree he just doesn't have enough power, to do anything about it.
Okay. So what if we just say that God doesn't have enough power to do anything?
Not anything. I'm saying like he doesn't have enough power to do anything about the evil or whatever.
Well, it's all about what sort of constraint you're talking about here. So are you saying are you trying to say that God is constrained about like? Well, I guess maybe you're just saying, what's the problem with saying that God isn't powerful enough to do something about these cases? So
yeah.
So as I understand, I'm going to assume some facts, and then you can tell me whether or not these sound wrong. So I take God to have like something very close to total omnipotence. He's not able to do logically impossible things. Like he can't do something like create an object that does or he can't create an object that is and is not red. He also can't create an object that he can't lift, because he's all powerful, and that would be a contradiction. But he can do essentially anything else. And so the problem is that if he is omnipotent and there exist these superfluous cases of evil, and he's omniscient so he knows about them, and he's all good so he will eliminate them if he can, well, he's omnipotent, omniscient, so he knows about them, so he will eliminate them. So there has to be, some reason that he couldn't. But, the idea is to show that there's a case that isn't like that.
Yeah, so it seemed like your definition of omnipotence there was that he can do anything that's like logically possible. And I'm not even sure that that's like the view that most theists would hold. But again, like let's just say, I was just gonna say let's just say that somebody holds a view that God doesn't have, I guess the ability, he doesn't have the power to stop the evil or whatever, but he has all the other attributes. Is there like some sort of inconsistency with that view?
Well, it seems to me like there's something then that God can't do, and therefore he is not omnipotent. And it's not just that he's not omnipotent, like he's, constrained in the logical way. It seems like there's a thing which he very practically could do if he could like lift rocks into the air psychically or something that he is unable to do anything about. Because he could just stop the fire. He could just like cause the fire around this one deer to not continue onto the deer, lift it out of the ground or something.
Yeah, like I agree that under that definition, like of omnipotence, then he wouldn't be omnipotent. But let's just say we're talking about schnobnipotence or whatever. Under this view, is there some inconsistency? No,
but I think that's a very non-traditional interpretation of the Bible. That's definitely not the kind that Sepp means.
Well, I was gonna say that's why I was gonna bring it up. Because there's like a specific person that holds this view that wrote a book about it, but I can't find him right now.
I understand that, and it's interesting enough. There is something I'd like to talk about before we. Sorry, I'm being a dick by playing piano. Before you go, because I imagine you're at the end of it. I'm just debating how I want to do this. I'm debating whether or not I want to do closing statements and just like. I think I'd like to do closing statements.
Okay, you can go ahead.
So in this argument, I presented a formal argument whose conclusion is the non-existence of God. Each of the premises that I was ever asked for a challenge on, I gave an account of why they were true, and then an account of the reasons that the reasons were true. Never was it given in any argument which showed that, any were false, nor was Goons able to show that any of the accounts I had given failed to establish any of the premises as I gave them. And so, because the argument is valid and sound, I conclude that God does not exist, namely the Christian God. And that's all I want to say. And also, this business about the insult thing in meta beforehand, Rod. I don't know why you were insulting me on random Discord servers. All right, I'm done.
Okay, is it it?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess just to conclude, I don't know. How should I go with this?
Stop banning Moxie, it's cringe.
I would say that you're wrong and you're retarded, but relative to me, that was always going to be the case. So yeah, I think we had a productive conversation. We could do this another time. Yeah.
Well, I guess your thinking never counted for very much, did it?
Nope.
He just said no to that. Did you guys just hear that? He actually just said no to that.
Yeah, I did say no to that.
All right. See you later, Goons.
All right. You have a good one, buddy. All right. Everybody can go to AVC if you want a post-debate review.